The bullet tore through my chest like a freight train from hell. And as the world blurred to black, I locked eyes with Mark, my fiancé. My killer, his face twisted in that smug, silver-tongued grin he'd worn since the day we met. "I always knew you'd be too nosy for your own good. Jazz," he'd whispered, the silencer on his pistol still smoking as my body slumped against the cold marble floor of that billionaire's penthouse. But death. It wasn't the end. It was a goddamn reset button, spitting me back into my own skin on the morning of our wedding day, heart pounding with the fury of a second chance I never asked for. I stared at my reflection in the vanity mirror of the bridal suite at St. Patrick's Cathedral in Midtown Manhattan, the lace of my Vera Wang gown itching like a noose around my neck. It was June 15th, 2023, 18 months before the night I'd die, and everything looked the same. The bouquet of white lilies trembling in my hands, the hum of excited chatter from the bridesmaids in the next room, the distant toll of church bells mocking me like a bad joke. But I wasn't the same. Not anymore. The memories flooded in sharp as shattered glass. Mark's betrayal at this very altar. The way he'd gaslight me into thinking I was paranoid about his business trips, the secret emails I'd uncovered too late proving he'd been laundering money for Victor Hale, the reclusive tech billionaire who'd hired me as his personal assistant right after the wedding fallout. And then, piecing it together in Hale's fortified tower overlooking Central Park. The truth that got me killed. Hale wasn't just a mogul. He was the puppet master behind a sprawling corporate espionage ring that had ruined my family years ago. And Mark was his right-hand enforcer. My hands shook as I adjusted the veil. But it wasn't nerves this time. It was rage. Pure and electric. Coiling in my gut like a live wire. In my first life, I'd walked down that aisle blind, whispering, "I do," to a man who'd sell my soul for a corner office. The reception had been a blur of champagne toasts and stolen kisses. Until the honeymoon in the Hamptons where Mark's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number, handled a loose end. Hale's orders. I'd laughed it off then, chalking it up to work stress. But 6 months later, jobless and heartbroken after he confessed to an affair, framed me as the unstable one in our divorce, I'd scraped by on temp gigs until Hale's headhunter called. Desperate for stability, I'd taken the PA role, thinking it was my ticket out of rock bottom. Little did I know, it was a one-way trip to a bullet. Now, with the clock ticking toward the 2 p.m. ceremony, I had to rewrite this shitshow. No more playing the victim. Mark Reynolds, charming Wall Street shark with a jawline that could cut glass and eyes like a predator's, would pay. And Hale, that shadowy son of a bitch who'd built an empire on stolen patents and buried bodies, he'd crumble too. But first, I had to survive the altar. The organ swelled as I stepped into the nave, the scent of polished pews and fresh flowers hitting me like a wave. 300 guests turned, family from my mom's side in Ohio, Mark's Ivy League cronies, a smattering of Society Pages types who'd eat up the drama like caviar. My father, gone 5 years from a heart attack that now screamed cover-up in my reborn mind, would have hated this spectacle. He'd been a mid-level engineer at Hale Tech, whistleblowing on faulty software that caused a data breach costing lives, until he wasn't. Poison coffee, the coroner said. Accidental overdose. Bullshit. Mark stood at the altar in his tailored Tom Ford tux, flashing that megawatt smile as I approached. Our eyes met, and for a split second, I swear he sensed it, the shift. But he recovered, mouthing, "You look stunning," like the liar he was. Father McAllister droned through the vows, but my mind raced ahead. After the I do's, I'd fake a breakdown. Expose the first thread of his web right there in front of God and the New York Post photographers. No quiet divorce this time. Let the headline scream. Due. Jasmine Ellis. Take this man. I paused, the cathedral falling silent as a tomb. Mark's brow furrowed, that telltale vein pulsing in his temple, the same one that had throbbed when he pulled the trigger. My voice echoed, steady as steel.
No.
Actually,
Hell no.
gasps rippled through the crowd like dominoes. My maid of honor, Sarah, bless her oblivious heart, clutched her bouquet like a lifeline. Mark's face drained of color, his charm cracking like cheap plaster.
Yes.
What the? I yanked off the ring. A 2-carat canary diamond that suddenly felt like fool's gold, and hurled it at his feet. It skittered across the stone floor, coming to rest by the crucifix. You think you can stand there, Mark, after screwing your way through half of Chelsea to climb Hale's ladder? I know about the offshore accounts, the bribes to bury that SEC investigation. And don't get me started on what you did to my dad. The congregation erupted, murmurs turning to outright shouts. An aunt fainted into her pew, a groomsman lunged forward only to be held back by ushers. Father McAllister stammered for order, but I was already turning, veil trailing like a battle flag as I stormed down the aisle. Phones were out, videos rolling. By tonight, Altar Dump would trend harder than a Kardashian meltdown. Outside, the June sun beat down on Fifth Avenue like Judgment Day. Paparazzi swarmed as I piled into the waiting limo, Sarah scrambling in after me.
Yes.
Are you insane? What the hell just happened? I slammed the partition up, the city blurring past in a haze of yellow cabs and honking horns. Not insane.
Sarah.
Awake. For the first time in years. My phone buzzed. Text from Mark. We need to talk. This is a mistake. Then Hale's assistant, Mr. Hale requests your presence. Immediately.
How?
In my first life. The job offer came weeks later. Had my altar stunt already rippled through their network? I typed back to Mark. Talk?
Sure.
Bring a lawyer. And your confession. Then, to Hale's line, on my way. Got a proposition you won't refuse. Heart hammering, I directed the driver to Hale Tower on Park Avenue. Time to accelerate the timeline. In my past life, I'd walked into that job broken, pliable. This time, I'd walk in loaded for bear. Hale Tower loomed like a glass monolith, piercing the sky at 60 stories of unchecked ambition. Security waved me through, perks of being the jilted bride of Victor Hale's golden boy. The elevator whisked me to the 50th floor, where floor-to-ceiling windows framed the sprawl of Manhattan like a conquered kingdom. Victor Hale waited in his office, a fortress of walnut paneling and abstract art that screamed old money laundering new tech. He was in his late 50s, silver fox with a stare that could freeze lava, ex-Marine turned Silicon Valley disruptor. Or so the Forbes profile lied. Jasmine, he said, not rising from his desk, voice smooth as aged bourbon. Bold move at the cathedral. Marks in a tailspin downstairs. I didn't sit.
Good.
Saves me the trouble of firing the first shot. I paced, channeling every ounce of that reborn fire. I'm not here to apologize. I'm here because I know things. Things that could bury you both. His eyes narrowed, but he leaned back, steepling his fingers. Classic power play. Enlighten me. The breach at Haletech in 2018. My father didn't kill himself, He found the backdoor you coded into the quantum encryption software. Sold user data to foreign buyers for billions under the table. He confronted you. And poof, heart attack via ricin-laced espresso. The words hung heavy, pulled from the digital breadcrumbs I'd pieced together in my dying hours. Hale's face didn't crack, but his knuckles whitened. Allegations like that could ruin a man, he said softly. Or make one. Exactly. I stopped pacing,
meeting his gaze head-on.
Hire me. Not as some coffee-fetching PA, but as your fixer. I expose Mark. You give me access to clean your messes. And in return, I get a cut of the truth about my dad, about why you let a nobody like him get too close. Silence stretched, broken only by the distant wail of sirens below. Hale studied me like a chessboard, then chuckled a low, genuine rumble. You're not the weeping bride I expected.
Fine.
Start Monday. But cross me, Jasmine, and you'll wish you'd said I do. As I left the tower, the adrenaline crash hit like a hangover. I'd bought time, planted seeds of doubt. But Mark, he'd come for me sooner now, cornered and vicious. And Hale, God, if he only knew I held the detonator to his empire. Phase 1 complete. But revenge wasn't a sprint, it was a marathon through hell's own suburbs. Monday dawned gray and drizzly, the kind of New York morning that made you question every life choice. I arrived at Hale Tower in a power suit, black Armani. Heels that clicked like gunfire, ID badge already waiting from HR. Whispers followed me through the lobby. The altar girl turned corporate shark. Let them talk. It was fuel. My office was a glass cubicle on the executive floor, overlooking the bullpen of coders and suits buzzing like bees in a hive. First task, audit Mark's division. Hale had handed me an encrypted drive the day before. For your review. Translation: dig for dirt on his boy Wonder before the wolves circled. Mark's workspace was a shrine to excess, framed yacht photos, a mini fridge stocked with single malt. I booted his terminal, bypassing the password with a backdoor I'd memorized from my first life. Files spilled open, wire transfers to Cayman shells, emails with Russian oligarchs, and buried deepest, a dossier on me. Not just wedding photos, but surveillance logs from the Hamptons honeymoon. Subject: Jasmine Ellis. Threat level: minimal. Monitor for instability post-divorce. Instability? That was his code for frame her if she snoops. My blood boiled as I cross-referenced dates with my dad's death. Bingo, a payment to a consultant named Dr. Elias Crow, the coroner who'd signed off on the overdose. 20 grand, wired the day after. I copied it all to a burner drive, then deleted my traces. Footsteps echoed, Mark, striding in with coffee and that disarming grin.
Jazzy.
Didn't expect you'd actually show. It's Jasmine now. I spun my chair to face him, voice ice. And yeah, I showed. To watch you squirm. He set the cup down, leaning on the desk like we were old pals. Come on. That altar stunt was heat of the moment. We were good together. Hale's using you to test me. Don't be his pawn.
Pawn.
The word twisted like a knife. In my past life, I'd bought his apologies. Let him isolate me until I was too weak to fight. Not this time. Good? You mean good at lying? At selling out my family for your bonus? I have the files.
Mark.
The breach. The payoffs. Even your little chat with Crow. His grin faltered, eyes darting to the screen. blank now. Thanks to me. You're bluffing. And even if Hale protects his own, does he? I stood, closing the distance until I could smell his cologne, the same one from our first date, now sour as deceit. Or does he cut bait when the shark smells blood?
TikTok.
Fiancé. Resign by end of day. Or I leak it all. Starting with the post. He grabbed my wrist. Grip bruising. You think you can play this game? I made you.
Yes.
Without me, you're nothing. I twisted free, me connecting with his groin in a move I'd practiced in self-defense classes post-rebirth. He doubled over, wheezing.
Wrong.
You broke me once. This time, I'm the one doing the breaking. Security hauled him out by noon, Hale watching from his office window like a king surveying executions. That night, over takeout Thai and my new Brooklyn walk-up, paid for by Hale's signing bonus, I toasted myself with cheap Merlot. One down. But as I scrolled the drive's deeper folders, an encrypted file caught my eye. Project Legacy. Password protected. But I had time. Hale's secrets weren't just crimes, they were personal. And mine? They ran deeper than I ever imagined. Weeks blurred into a grind of boardroom battles and late-night hacks. Hale kept me close, too close, assigning me to vet his inner circle, which meant rooting out disloyalty like a digital bloodhound. I thrived on it, the power rush masking the nightmares, bullets, betrayal, my dad's lifeless eyes staring from a hospital gurney photo I'd unearthed. Mark vanished after his voluntary sabbatical. Rumors said Dubai. But I knew better. A encrypted email hit my inbox one midnight. You think this ends with me? Hale's the devil. Run while you can. M attached, a grainy photo of a young woman, mid-20s, blonde like me, smiling in a Hale Tech Lab coat. Timestamp, 1998. The year I was born. My stomach dropped.
No. Couldn't be.
But the resemblance. I forwarded it to Hale anonymously, baiting the hook. His response came swift. My office.
Now.
The penthouse level was a different beast after hours. Dim lights, jazz crooning from hidden speakers, city lights twinkling like conspirators.
Hale powdered scotch. Neat.
Sliding a glass my way. You found the photo. More than that, I didn't touch the drink.
Who is she?
And why does she look like my mother?
He sighed.
Sinking into leather like a man unburdened. Because she was. Elena Ellis, your mother, was my intern. Brilliant coder.
We. Connected.
But I was married, climbing. She got pregnant. I paid her off, sent her to Ohio with enough to start over. Told her to name you after the jasmine in my garden. Poetic. Right? The room spun. My mother? His lover? All those stories of her, wild youth in the city. The vague dad she'd met at a conference. Lies to protect me from this? You abandoned us. And when Dad found out about the affair, the breach, he threatened to expose it all. That's why you killed him. Hale's face hardened. I didn't pull the trigger. Mark did. On orders. Your father was collateral in a bigger game. Hale took a survival against Chinese spies ripping us apart. Collateral? I laughed. Bitter as bile. He was my world. And you? You're my father? That's the life-changing secret? Some twisted family reunion wrapped in blood money. He reached for me, consolation. Maybe, but I recoiled. Jasmine, I can make this right. The company's yours one day. Billions. Power. We rewrite the narrative together. Together. The word curdled. In my first life, I died chasing scraps of truth. Too late to see the web included my own DNA.
Now.
With Hale's confession hanging, the pieces snapped. Mark hadn't killed me just for snooping, he'd known. Hale's bastard daughter sniffing too close to the throne? Unacceptable. I backed toward the door, mind racing. I'll think about it. Family, after all. But as the elevator descended, I hit send on the burner. Files to the FBI tip line. Tagged with Hale's DNA match from a corporate physical I'd swiped. No more games. This was checkmate. But revenge has a way of biting back. The raid hit at dawn. Black SUVs screeching up to Hale Tower like avenging angels. I watched from a coffee shop across the street, anonymous in a hoodie, as feds in windbreakers swarmed the lobby. Hale emerged in cuffs. Silver hair disheveled, barking at lawyers who scattered like roaches. The news vans rolled in minutes later, CNN, Fox. All of them, cameras flashing as the headline scrolled. Tech titan Victor Hale arrested in corporate espionage scandal. Illegitimate daughter key whistleblower? My phone lit up. Sarah.
Panicking. Yes.
It's everywhere. Are you okay? Then. Unknown number, you bitch. This isn't over.
Mark.
Dubai hadn't been far enough. I slipped into the subway, the rumble of the 6 train mirroring the quake in my chest. It should have felt like victory, Hale's empire fracturing. Mark hunted like the rat he was. My dad's name cleared in the leaks I'd timed perfectly. But as the car rattled toward Brooklyn, doubt crept in. Hale's words echoed. We rewrite together. Was blood thicker than the grave? Or had I just traded one betrayal for a lifetime of ghosts? Back home, the apartment felt hollow, boxes still unpacked. A half-eaten bagel on the counter from yesterday's rush. I poured coffee, black as my mood, and booted the laptop. One last file from the drive, Mom's old letters. Scanned and hidden. Victor, if you ever doubt, know Jasmine's eyes are yours, fierce, unyielding. Don't let our mistake define her. Tears stung, hot and unwelcome.
Mistake.
That's all I'd been. But I'd turned it into a weapon. The TV droned in the background. Anchors dissecting the altar bride's revenge. Me, painted as the vengeful harpy or plucky heroine, depending on the spin. Twitter was a battlefield, Justice for Ellis trending alongside Hale. A knock shattered the quiet, sharp, insistent. Heart slamming, I peered through the peephole.
Mark.
Disheveled beard, eyes wild, a duffel slung over his shoulder.
Yes.
Open up. I know you're in there.
Shit. How?
I'd changed locks, installed cameras. But there he was, flesh and fury. I grabbed the baseball bat by the door, souvenir from Dad's Ohio games, and cracked it open a sliver. Feds have your flight logs. Mark. Turn around. Walk away. He jammed his foot in, voice low and lethal. You think Hale's the big bad? He's a saint compared to what I know. That photo, not just your mom. She didn't leave because of money. I made her. Poison your old man to cover it. Hale's orders. Sure. But I pulled the strings.
And you?
You're next unless you call off the dogs. The bat trembled in my grip. Lies?
Truth?
In my first life,
He'd shot me point blank.
Here. Words were the bullet. Why tell me now? Because you're family too? In a fucked up way. He smirked, that predator's glint. Hale's daughter. My insurance policy. Help me bury this. And we split the empire. Fight. And I end it like last time.
Last time.
He remembered?
No, bluff.
Had to be. But the chill down my spine said otherwise. Maybe Death's reset wasn't unique. Maybe he'd glimpsed it too. In some parallel nightmare. I swung the bat, cracking his knee. He howled, stumbling back as I slammed the door. Chains rattling. Never again. Sirens wailed distant, neighbors calling it in. Mark limped away, cursing, vanishing into the alley shadows. Collapsed against the wall. Sobs racked me. Victory? Or just another layer of hell? Hale rotted in a cell. Mark hunted. But the secret festered. I was Hale's blood, complicit in the empire that killed my dad. Rewrite together?
No.
I'd burn it all. Months later, the trial dominated tabloids, Hale pleading to lesser charges, spilling on rivals for a cushy sentence. Mark, extradited from a Cayman safe house, facing murder, one for dad. I testified, voice steady, unraveling their web thread by thread. The judge's gavel fell like absolution. But on the courthouse steps, under flashing bulbs, Hale caught my eye from the transport van, proud. Almost. My girl, his nod said. I turned away, hailing a cab to JFK. Ohio called Mom's farm. Fresh starts. No billions. No blood. In the rear view, Manhattan shrank. A glittering scar. Reborn. Revenged. But hollow. Was it worth it? The hook in my chest whispered no. But as the plane lifted, sun breaking through clouds, I exhaled. For Dad. For me. Second chances weren't clean. They were survival. And I'd survived. The flight to Cleveland was a red-eye blur. Turbulence jolting me awake every time I nodded off. Dreams laced with Mark's sneer and Hale's bourbon breath. By the time the rental car crunched gravel up Mom's drive in rural Medina County, dawn painted the fields gold, and exhaustion clung like damp fog. The old Victorian farmhouse loomed, peeling blue paint, wraparound porch sagging under wisteria, home for my first 18 years. Before college whisked me to the city's siren call. Mom rocked in her chair, shotgun across her lap like it was yesterday's paper. She'd aged a decade in the scandal's glare, but her eyes, my eyes, sharpened at the sight of me. Jasmine Marie, you look like hell warmed over. She set the gun aside, pulling me into a hug that smelled of lavender soap and regret. Feds called last night. Said you'd be comin'. Why didn't you warn a body? Needed to see your face first. I sank onto the glider beside her, the chains creaking in rhythm with my heartbeat. Everything out.
Hale.
He's my father. She froze, then sighed, long and weary, like she'd carried this stone forever. Knew you'd dig it up eventually. Girl, you're too damn much like him, stubborn as a mule with a nose for trouble. No tears, just truth. Doled out over black coffee on the kitchen table scarred from 1,000 meals.
Elena Ellis.
Nay Harper. Spun the tale. Intern at Hale Tech fresh out of NYU. Seduced by Victor's vision and charm. She'd admit with a wry twist. The affair brief. Intense. Pregnancy a shock. His hush money bought silence. A new life in Ohio where she met Dad. Real Dad. The engineer who'd loved her fiercely. No questions asked. He knew.
Jazz.
About Victor. Chose us anyway. That's why they killed him. We buried that night in tears and silence, the weight lifting just enough to breathe. But peace? Fleeting. A week in, as fireflies danced over the corn, my burner buzzed, unknown. Miss me? Hale sends regards.
M. Mark.
Slippery bastard had lawyered up, out on bail pending appeal. I blocked it, but the seed of paranoia took root. Ohio felt too small, too exposed. Mom saw it in my twitchy glances at shadows. Go back, honey. Finish what you started. But promise me, no more dying for secrets. Her words haunted the drive to the airport, a vow I etched into bone. Back in Brooklyn by week's end, the apartment had transformed, security system upgraded. Locks tripled. A Glock permit in my nightstand courtesy of Hale's parting gift smuggled via courier. Work. Hale Tech imploded under DOJ oversight. But Victor's network lingered like smoke, old allies offering consulting gigs, veiled threats in anonymous emails. I took none. Freelancing cyber audits for startups. Building a quiet life. Or trying. Enter twist number 2, the letter. Arrived on cream stationery. Postmarked from a federal lockup in White Plains. Hale's scrawl. Elegant even in chains. Dearest Jasmine. Blood calls to blood. I've arranged for your inheritance. Discreet. Untraceable. Use it wisely. Or burn it. But know this. Mark wasn't the only loose end. Ask your mother about the twins. Twins? Mom swore ignorance when I called. Voice cracking. Victor babbled nonsense after you left.
Yes.
Drugs in his system or something. Don't chase ghosts.
But ghosts chase me.
Sleepless nights led to digging, public records, dark web forums. A shady PI in Jersey who cashed my check and delivered birth certificates from '98. 2 boys. Adopted out via a Hale-funded agency. Fraternal twins. Mothers listed as Elena H. Initials only. My brothers. Hale's contingency plan. Hidden heirs to buffer his empire if I proved too volatile. Rage reignited. Hotter than before. I'd avenged Dad. Toppled Hale. But this? A family fractured by one man's ego. Sons I'd never known pawns in his game. I flew to D.C., tailing leads to an adoption lawyer who'd retired to the Shenandoah. He met me in a dingy diner off I-66, face lined like old leather.
Victor Hale?
Yeah. He buried deep. Boys went to good homes, Virginia suburbs, East Coast elites.
But one.
Troubled. Juvenile records sealed. But whispers of hacking. Corporate sabotage. Sound familiar? Too familiar. The PI's file had a name. Ethan Crow. Crow, as in DR. Elias Crow. The coroner Mark bribed? Coincidence? Hell no. Hale's spawn. Cleaning up family messes from the shadows. The other twin. Lucas. Clean-cut lawyer in Richmond. Oblivious to the rot. I confronted Lucas first. Cold-called from a payphone. Voice disguised. Your biological father?
Victor Hale.
And your sister's coming for answers. He hung up. But I had his address. Drove down in a borrowed Chevy, staking out his McMansion like a B-movie PI. He emerged at dusk, tall, dark-haired, spitting image of Hale minus the menace, loading golf clubs for a weekend getaway. Lucas. I stepped from the shadows. No preamble. Jasmine Ellis. Your twin sister. Hale's dirty little secret times 3. He dropped the bag. Clubs clattering. Panic flashed. Then calculation, lawyer brain kicking in. This some scam? Security. No time for bullshit. I shoved the PI's dossier at him, birth docs. DNA prelims I'd expedited.
Read.
Then talk. Ethan's out there, knee-deep in Hale's crimes. Dad's dead because of it. Our dad, the one who raised you, or in my case,
Haunted me.
he scanned, face paling.
Jesus.
Mom, adoptive mom, said international.
Not.
This. Inside over whiskey sours. The floodgates cracked. Lucas knew fragments, whispers of Uncle Vic, checks in trust funds, a college fund vanishing post-scandal. I idolized him from afar. Thought he was the genius uncle.
Now?
Monster. We bonded over loathing, late nights plotting. Him feeding insider tips from his firm. Me hacking Ethan's digital trail. Turns out, the troubled twin had gone full black hat, freelance fixer for Hale's rivals, ironically avenging the old man by dismantling copycats. But when I reached out, anonymous drop at his DC bolt hole, he ghosted. Until he didn't. The ambush came on a rainy October night in Georgetown. I was tailing a lead on Mark's Cayman contacts, boots splashing puddles along M Street, when a van screeched curbside. Ethan Crow, lean, tattooed, eyes like chipped ice, yanked me in, zip ties biting wrists. Sister dear. Family reunions are a bitch. His lair was a basement lair straight out of a techno thriller, servers humming, screens flickering with surveillance feeds, including my Brooklyn door. Hale's pet project, he sneered.
Pacing.
You topple the king. Think the pawns fold? I'm the real heir, born to bury bodies. Not blow kisses at altars. Mark's influence? Or Hale's grooming? Ethan spilled it all. High on his own god complex, poisoning dad on orders, but twisting the knife by framing Mark as the fall guy. Vic wanted you isolated.
Yes. Weak. But you?
You burned it down. Respect. Respect? From the monster who dosed my father's coffee? I headbutt him mid-monologue. Ties snapping as we grappled, fists. Furniture. A lamp shattering like my illusions. He pinned me against a console, breath ragged. Join or die. Like old times. Old times? Flashback hit. Not just my death, his too? In some branched timeline. Ethan had pulled the trigger. Jealousy boiling over when Hale favored me. Reborn. Like me? The thought froze us both. Truce, I gasped, knee to his gut buying space. Lucas knows. Fed circling. We end this together. No more blood. He laughed.
Bitter.
Blood's all we got.
But he cut the ties.
Handing me a drive. Hale's kill list. Your name's off. Mark's not. We drove through the storm to Langley, Ethan's contacts. My evidence. Dawn broke as agents swarmed Mark's hideout in Bethesda, dragging him out in boxers. Hale's final loose end. Ethan vanished after. A ghost in the machine, but a text ping later. Twin stick. Watch your back. Back in Brooklyn. Lucas visited. Awkward barbecue on the fire escape. Beers and what-ifs. Family's fucked, he toasted. But we're rewriting. Was it happy? Hell no. Scars ran deep. Trust a fragile thread. Mom met them over Thanksgiving. Tears and turkey forging fragile bonds. Hale died in prison. Heart attack. Ironic poetry, whispering my name to the end.
Me?
I wrote the book, Ghostrin. Anonymized, Altar of Ashes, A Daughter's Reckoning. Bestseller. Movie rights pending. But in quiet moments, staring at the skyline, I wondered, second chance or curse? The bullet's echo faded. But the fire? It burned eternal. Yet as snow dusted Central Park that Christmas, Ethan surfaced, clean-shaven, suit-sharp, for our first real meal. To loose ends, he clinked glasses. Loose. Maybe. But tight enough to endure. Winter gripped New York like a grudge. Ice storms turning the streets into skating rinks, and my resolve into something sharper. Colder. The book tour kicked off in a whirlwind, Boston to LA. Signings where fans dissected my courage like autopsy reports. How'd you know to walk away? A wide-eyed co-ed asked in Chicago. Microphone trembling. I smiled.
Reazet, gut instinct.
Saved my life. Truth layered thicker. It saved my soul. But fame's a double-edged blade. Mark's trial loomed in federal court, Manhattan Division, and the defense subpoenaed me as a character witness, code for smear campaign. His lawyers painted me as the vengeful ex, jilted and jealous, twisting my rebirth-fueled exposé into delusional ravings. Tabloids lapped it up, heiress or hysteric. Paparazzi camped my stoop, flashbulbs popping like gunfire in the night. Ethan handled the shadows, jamming signals, doxing creeps, while Lucas lawyered the PR, suing outlets for libel faster than they could print. We're a team now, he'd say, clapping my shoulder with that brotherly awkwardness. Team. The word warmed, thawing corners of my heart I'd iced over since the altar. Mom flew in for the holidays, commandeering my kitchen for pierogi marathons, her laughter chasing ghosts. Your daddy be proud.
Jazz.
Hell. He'd say you gave him hell. We strung lights on the fire escape, the city a twinkling apology below. But as revelers hooped in Times Square on New Year's, my phone lit with a restricted call. I let it ring. Champagne flute paused mid-sip. Intuition, that reborn sixth sense, prickled. It was Hale's old solicitor, voice oily as patent leather. MS. Ellis. Victor's estate settles next week.
A.
Provision for you. Discreet meeting. The Pierre. Noon. I hung up, stomach nodding. Inheritance? I'd burned that bridge. But curiosity, damn it, won. The next day, snow flurries swirling like confetti from hell, I slipped into the Pierre's gilded lobby. Chanel coat over jeans. Anonymous enough. The solicitor waited in a corner booth, briefcase chained to his wrist like a bad spy novel. Victor was adamant, he murmured, sliding docs across velvet. Not just money, billions in trusts, Shell Core, a controlling stake in Hale Tech's remnants. But buried in legalese, a codicil. Should Jasmine decline, assets divert to the twins, equally. With strings, loyalty oaths to the board. No leaks. Loyalty. To the machine that ate my family. I laughed, sharp and hollow, crumpling the pages. Tell the ghosts I said no. Burn it. But as I stormed out, briefcase in tow, snatched in a fit of spite, a shadow detached from the bar.
Mark.
Bail jumped, face gaunt under a fedora, eyes burning with that altar fire. You should have stayed in Ohio. Jazz. He lunged, syringe glinting, sedative. No doubt. For a quiet suicide redux. Adrenaline surged. I dodged, smashing the case into his jaw. latches springing to spill cash like bloody snow. We grappled across the lobby, guests screaming, doormen charging, as security piled on. Cuffed and snarling, Mark spat blood. Hale's money's cursed. You'll see. Feds hauled him away. Trial fast-tracked to conviction. Life without parole. Justice. Served cold. The real twist hit post-verdict. Ethan's ping. Found the codicil. Took my half. Funding a startup clean tech.
Nos a dos. You in?
Lucas chimed in, boards begging. We reform from inside. Mom's text your call. Baby. But blood don't gotta mean chains. I chose the middle path, minority stake, oversight role. Hale Tech reborn as Ellis Innovations. Quantum security, sans the espionage. Twins at my side. Ethan coding firewalls. Lucas litigating ethics clauses. Mom?
Non-exec advisor.
Her pierogi recipe in the employee handbook. Spring thawed the city. Cherry blossoms dusting the park where it started. Hale's tower. Now ours. I stood on the observation deck. Wind whipping my hair. Ghosts whispering farewell. Betrayed the altar? Yeah. But from ashes, empires rise. Reborn. I didn't just survive. I ruled. And in the quiet after, with brothers' laughter echoing boardrooms and mom's voice on speakerphone, I finally breathed free.
Second chance?
They're what you make,
Mine?
a legacy unchained.